Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Nedarim daf Samach Hey. We are going to begin on the top of Samach Hey with Aleph, top line. Tanya, Hamudar Hanam Chavero. If a person makes a neder on his friend, ein matirino el bafanav. You can only have it removed in front of your friend. So Minahanimuli, how do we know that that's the case? So Rav Nachman, the pasuk says in Sefer Shemos, V'yom Hashem al Moshe, the Hashem said, B'midyan lech shuv Mitzrayim. That you should go to Mitzrayim, Kimesikol Hanoshim, because all the people there have died, which we saw in yesterday's daf, is referring to Dasan Aviram, Lav Dafka, that they physically died, but they became poor, which is an Anis Chashav Kames. So Amrulo, so B'midyan Nadarta, in Midyan, you made a neder to Yisro, Lech, go, V'hater Nidrucha B'midyan, and I want you to go back to Midyan in front of Yisro and to be matter the neder. Dechsev, V'yoyel Moshe ein Allah el shvua. So it says the word Allah. Allah is referring to a shvua. Dechsev V'yavei oso b'Allah. V'gam b'melech Nebuchad Netzar Marad Asher Hishbiyoi Belokim. The Nebuchadnezzar rebelled against God. So my mardute. So what exactly was against the king? So Ashche Sidkiel Nebuchadnezzar Dahavi Ka'achel Arnava Chaya. So there's a famous story that Sidkia saw that Nebuchadnezzar was doing something which was really beneath his honor, and he was eating a arneves, a rabbit, which was alive. So Armalei Ishtabali Deloy Megalasi. So Nebuchadnezzar said to him, I want you to swear to me that you're not going to basically tell anyone this. Says Rashi, Arnava Chaya Shein Mavusheles, it wasn't cooked. V'is Amri Chaya Mamish, Achel Oisa Kshichaya. Either means it was like raw, or Mamish, it was alive. So it was something which was beneath the kavod of a king like Nebuchadnezzar, so he made Sidkiah swear that he wasn't going to tell anyone. V'otepik Milsa Ishtaba. That this matter again shouldn't come out, and in fact Sidkiah made that shvul. Sov tabi kamat star Sidkiyahu begufe. So Sidkiah was mitzstar in his own body. Says Rashi, Shahirotzel galus adaber. He wanted to tell people that again, this is because Nebuchadnezzar was a Russia, so Sidkiah wanted to reveal this. So Itchil Shavuase, so he removed his neder, but Omar, and he told people the entirety of the story. So Shama Nebuchadnezzar to come avazinle. So all of a sudden, this story came out. So Sholach v'Aisi Sanhedrin. So he sent the Sanhedrin with Sidkiyahu as well as Sidkiyahu. Amal Hoin Chazisun Maiko Ovid Sidkiyahu. See what he did. Lav Hachi Ishtaba Bishma Dishmaya Del Megalena. He was supposed to not reveal this, and he made a shvua, and he didn't care. So he should be held accountable for this. Or Malay Ichli as shvuasa. So he said, you're right. I know you heard him make a shvua, but there's a concept of removing a shvua, and that's what he did. Or Malay Mishtalon as shvuasa. You could actually do this. You can actually remove a shvua. So Malay yeah, you could. Or Malahu b'fanav or afil shul b'fanav. Is it allowed to be done in front? Does it have to be done in front of the person, or even not in front of the person? Which again is the case of Nebuchadnezzar. So Amrulei b'fanav, and actually had to be done in front of him. So Amrulhoin diatun ma'avidtun. So you, based in what did you do? My time loyam risun l'sidkiyahu. Why didn't you say this to Sidkiyahu? How come you didn't tell him that it had to be done b'fanav, in front of me? Miyad yeshul aretz yidmu zikni basiyain. And all of a sudden, the land was quiet. They dwelled in the land. It should be silent. The zikni basiyain. Rabbi Yitzchak shamtu karim mitachtehem. That they literally removed the pillows from underneath them. Okay, so again we see, and maybe we'll touch upon this in the Ran in a second, that this was a mistake. That because Sidkiah made this neder and he removed it, but Nebuchadnezzar didn't know that he removed this neder, and therefore and because it was done shul b'fanav. And in fact, it was supposed to be done b'fanav. Okay, so now let's look at the Ran. So the very top Ran, there's a lot here. Ikaman di armer de dafke kishanadar l'tzar chaverai. Keneder shanadar moishel yisrael yeshiv imoy b'hanasai. Maybe the only time it has to be done b'fanav is only a situation where the neder needs his friend, just like Moshe said to Yisro that he should stay there for Yisro's benefit. Shahayasa l'tolato. Avol neder shenadar shalotzar chavero matirin lo shabafanav. Maybe it's allowed to be on shul b'fanav, which again perhaps is a teretz when it comes to Sidkia. The reason why you have to do it in front of him is because of embarrassment. What's that? Kloimer, she's bayish mechavero, shaneder hayibal lahanasai. That the bushes, since you made the neder for your friend's benefit, the akshav roitzel hatirlo, and now all of a sudden you want to remove it. So in that situation, it's a busha since it's no longer for his benefit. So the only time we would apply this is if actually it's to the benefit of you. This neder is to the benefit of your friend. Then it could be done even not in front of him. Another reason why it has to be done in front of, and this Gemara was cited before. The Ran brings there's an issue of chshad. So that he may not know you were mater your neder, and he'll suspect that you're violating the neder, which is what happened with Nebuchadnezzar. He didn't know. You're violating your neder. So there's an issue of chshad, even if it's not for hanas chavero. So that would be one nafkamina. Basu ikabein hani treilishni delomandi amim nechshad kol shehedihu matirnlo afil shul b'fanav desu lekachshada. In order to remove the chshad, it doesn't necessarily have to be done b'fanav. You just have to inform him, which eventually what happens when the Nebuchadnezzar. So maybe you can say, well, it wasn't done b'fanav, but eventually he found out about it, and therefore it's not a problem. The chshad eventually got removed. Maybe. But again, there was an element of chshad originally. Okay. So those are two basic distinctions, which is going to be TB11 in question 5. Let's look at question 5. Ma nafkamina hoyu hatamim shksavaran. So either Nimnei Habusha Enu Ella Shenedel Tzar Chavero, or Chshad, it's enough to inform him. You don't actually have to do it in front of him, as long as he was informed, that would be sufficient. TB11, similar question. So I wrote, the question just says, what are the reasons? I wrote Nimnei Habusha, but only if it was for good. Nimnei Chshad, but if someone else informs them, maybe even shul b'fanav works. Okay. A little bit of a different question, but similar. Let's skip down to the bottom, the first wide line. So, so this whole question is whether or not this was allowed to be done. So, mashma the Evid shar v'chitei makati kasha denehid the Evid sharil chatchilu mi aser v'heicha sharil sanhedrin l'sidkiyahu. So even though, let's say b'diavad it works, shul b'fanav, how was the Beis Din allowed to do this? And the Sanhedrin to mater Sidkiyahu's neder, not in front of the king. Maybe for a mitzvah they'd make an exception. To Sidkiyahu havi mitztaher b'yoser, he was in tremendous distress. That he couldn't say anything. Because he was so distraught over this, he couldn't function as a human being. He couldn't do the mitzvos. The gam mitzvos hamelech ha-mitzvah aleihim lahatiru mitzvah hi aleihim l'kayim. Okay. V'acherim oimrim she'en elu royos lo oilam afil di eved enu motor. Even the evidence not motor. Shahari hakosav savech v'sidkiyahu u'meniyashu b'davar hakosav v'gam b'melech Nebuchadnezzar morad asher hishbiya Elokim. So it's a question whether or not, in fact, even b'diavad it works. But even if b'diavad it works, why would they be allowed to do b'diavad? Is dafka because it was because of Tzarech Mitzvah, because otherwise the Kiyao couldn't function and do Tzarech Shemayim, which is considered to be extremely important. Okay. I in the Ran. Next Mishnah, Masnisen. Rameir Oimer Yesh Devarim Shehein Kanoilad, Veda Kanoilad. There are certain matters in which, even though it has the appearance of Noilad, we're going to say it's not Noilad, and therefore it'll still work as a Pesach. Veda Chachamim Moedim Lo, but the Chachamim are not going to agree to it. Okay. Or on the side it says Chachamim Moedim Lo. Okay. Ketzad. Omer Kainim Shani Noises Plainis. I'm not going to marry this girl. She's wonderful. She's lovely. It's her father. Shiaviha Ra. The father is bad. Sarmalo, great news. Mace, her father died. Oshasa Tshuva. Or even better, he did Tshuva. So in this situation, this is considered, even though it didn't happen yet, right, at the time of the Neder, we still say it is like al tanai, says the Ran. Lafishahu kitoyla nidro b'davar. It's contingent on a matter. Since you said because the father is bad, it's only because the father is bad. That's what you meant. And therefore, once he does tshuva, he's not bad. And if he's dead, he can't do anything bad either. So therefore, that would be a Pesach. For that matter, says the Mishnah, I'm not going to go into that house. I'm making that. I'll never go in that house because there's a bad dog there. There's a rabid dog. There's a dangerous, poisonous, venomous snake. Hello, good news. Mesa Kelev, the dog dead. Someone killed the snake. Why does it have to use different languages to say the same thing? The Ein Chachamim Moedim, and again it says on the side Chachamim Moedim. It seems like the proper gears to Chachamim Moedim. The Ein Chachamim Moedim. That's a machlokas. Okay. Gemara. Kainim Shanin Zobais Shakel etc. Mace, and this dog died. So what do you mean Noilad who? Why would we say that it's Noilad but Einu Noilad? What do you mean? This case, unlike the case of, let's say, this, why would we say this is considered to work? So as the Ran explained, it's because you're being Toila Nidroi. What you're basically saying is all contingent. The only reason I'm not going to go into this house is definitely because of the bad dog. But if there's no dog there, then I'll go into the house. For Rav Yochanan Omer Kvar Mace, he actually, the dog had already died before you made the neder, or he had already done tshuva before the neder. You just didn't realize it. So that's another answer. Kamile. But that's what we're referring to. So look in the Ran, neder tais. It was a mistake. He wasn't bad. He wasn't around. So therefore the whole neder didn't even start. Okay, as we continue to Samachem days. So the Gemara asks the question. So Mesav Rabbi Abba, Kainim shenin noisla plainis kaura. I don't want to marry this woman because she's ugly. She's not good looking. I don't want to marry an ugly woman. So Vahare Hina, she's beautiful. Shechaira, I don't want to marry her because of her dark complexion. Vahari Lavana, and she has a lighter, beautiful complexion. Not that saying this is this person's preference. Kitsara, she's too short. Vahari Arucha, she's taller. So muterba. In all these situations, she's mutter. Not because she was ugly and became beautiful. Shechar v'nasas lavana, and she changed color. Kitsara v'nasas Arucha, she also grew 2 feet. Elisha neder tois. It was a mistake. The whole neder was a mistake. She wasn't short. She wasn't this disposition, and she wasn't ugly. Now, it's all totally on the condition. So, Tana Toil Nidro Badavar, but Tana Neder Tois. It makes sense that you're mentioning 2 cases, 2 totally separate situations. Elo Rav Yochanan, this is the Gemara we're going to see later on in Daf Samach Vav. It makes sense you're talking about 2 separate cases. Elo Rav Yochanan, Emer Kavar Meis, Kavar Osa Tshuva, it's that our mission over there is a Tois. So Lamu Lemisni Trez Zimni Neder. Tois. Kasha. Why is that to mention the same thing? Why are the 2 Mishnayos both talking about a neder tois? It makes more sense. One is talking about a neder of noilad that's not noilad because it was al tanai, and the other one is about a tois. Why would you have 2 Mishnayos separating from one another, talking about the exact same thing. So in fact, it's a kasha, but of course, kasha is not a tiyofta. There is an answer to it if you think about it. So let's look at the round over here. How come when it comes to a woman who's ugly and becomes beautiful? It's comparable to a bad person who does tshuva. And he may do tshuva and he may die. The idea behind this is that we evaluate the person's mindset. A person says that when the father's bad, Kol Zman Shevi Ra Kamer. He's dafka saying only because the father is bad. But he understands that if the father somehow becomes good, then everything is fine. And that's something which could potentially happen. A person could do tshuva, and a person does die. Masha Ein Kain Be'isha Ka'ura. Shena Suli Yois Na, which is unbelievable. A person who's ugly, you're ugly, and you're not going to become beautiful. There's no way a person has the das, when she becomes beautiful, that's fine. Harash Mazal, Inami Ki Amar Hachi, Shani Naisa Isha Plainis, a person says about marrying this woman, Shehi Ka'ura, that she is ugly. Kedetani Shavia Ra, Hachinami the Mashma Kozman Shi Ka'ura. Maybe only when she's ugly. So it's interesting, according to this, maybe it's easier for a person to do tshuva than for a person to become good looking. A person is ugly or beautiful, however that's understood in his eyes, so that's how she always is, no matter what she does, or no matter what happens. But the person could change from being bad to becoming good. But if you're ugly, you're ugly. And that's basically the idea behind this. Okay, it's not. Again, beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. Masnisen. All these other pesachs that you can use, you can also use a pasuk. And a person will not be mavazeh to not admit. For example, if you would have known that you're violating revenge or bearing a grudge, hating your brother in your heart, loving your neighbor, you should help your brothers and let them live. Now, b'shas the neder, he's poor and he's not able to be supported. So actually, all these cases are a Pesach because, again, a person may lie because the person may not consider them to be as choshev. Says the Ran, as we saw previously on Chaf Beis Amud Aleph, the loy paschinan b'yesh toye kinamikaras cherev. A person cannot use a Pesach of a person who deserves that their heart should be pierced. And it makes a Nedarim to keep it, you're considered to be a Rasha. The Hasem Shani, the Havi Ayumim Gedolim. These are like very, very intense. V'yafil al das hanu nader yisbai shalomer kain nimsa she nidrun that nitarn yafe. So he said, a person is going to be accused like you're building an altar in the time of the Mizbeach, time of the Beis HaMikdash. That's a horrible thing to do. So a person is not going to say, I don't care, because it makes you look horrible. So maybe you're going to lie, and therefore it's not really good Pesach. And therefore those things don't work. But these, a person may say, oh yeah, v'yavta rechamocha. You want to know my neighbor? You expect me to love him? I don't care, I'm going to violate v'yavta rechamocha. So therefore it's possible a person could actually say it and not lie, can be truthful about it. And therefore by using v'yavta rechamocha as a Pesach, it will work. Okay. So that's what we saw before in the previous daf. Says the Gemara, Amali Rav Huna bar Rav Katina Rabbanan. Nema, why don't we say the one who made the neder, Kol Dima'ane, anyone who becomes poor, Lav Olai Nafil. It will not fall, not upon me shall it fall. My dematili, the Parnaso, Bahadi de Koliyama Mafarnasaleh. What, am I supposed to support the entire world? Armalei, Ani Armer, Kohanifel, Enu Nifel, Lide Gabe Tchila, says the Ran. Kol demi ane, anyone who's poor, lav olai nafal. It's not upon me. Shani mechuyev afarnaso levadi. I'm supposed to support them all by myself. Ella, skipping a few lines. Ella liyad gabai. it is on the community. I'll give to the Gabbai, and he will take care of him. I can give the Gabbai. So this l'chara isn't a Pesach. It's not a Pesach, because a person could just end up giving it to someone else, and they can end up deciding who he should give it to. So on this, the Ran says, "Kol neifel ein neifel lidei Gabbai tchila el shoyel mikiravav." There's being people are asking, so it's not that they go necessarily to the Gabi, they're asking you, and therefore, by you not helping them, you violated v'chayachichi. Okay, next Mishnah. A person can use a Pesach regarding the absorbent amount of money that he would have to pay for his wife, had he realized how much he would have to pay, that he would never have made a nether. There's a story. He made a nether against his wife. The Bahisik Subasa, tough dinarim, a massive amount of money, 400 dinar. Both near Rabbi Kiva. So he made a nether against his wife, and Rabbi Kiva said, okay, you have to pay her this amount of money. My father left 800 dinar. And I have one brother. He took 400, I have 400. All I have to my name is 400. I divided with my brother, so let me divide it with my wife. She'll get 200, I'll get 200. Why do I have to give her all 400? I'm going to lay Rabbi Kiva too bad. Even if you have to get rid of the sar roishcha, the hair of your head, you want to end up cutting your hair off and then selling it to Locks of Love or whatever it is, that's a donation, but giving it away or selling your hair, not the nice look subasa. So even you have to walk around bald to have sold your hair. You have to give her all 400 zuz. So Amrullah, he said to Rabbi Kiva, I can't believe this, but now that you're telling me this, if this was the case, he said neither. I would never have made such a nether against her. But Hetir Rabbi Kiva, and Rabbi Kiva martyred it, and they lived happily ever after. Maybe. Says the Gemara. So the Gemara says, "Metaltali mi mishtabdik l'ksuba." Doesn't understand what he's saying. That the metaltalin is meshubah to the ksuba. Why would he have to give that? So it's connected to karka. So Omer Baya karka shava chesmeos dinner. Actually, it was land that he inherited, and it was worth 800. So actually, this is what he had. He had land. Okay. Valkatani saroshai. It's the hair on his head. No one considers the hair on your head karka. So what does that mean? What is Rabbi Kiva talking about? So even if you sell the hair on your head for you to eat. So shmamina. So what do we see from here? We see ein misadrin ubal chayiv. What does that mean? So says the Ran. Ikaman di oimer, there's a shita in Baba Matzia toward the end of Masech over there. The manichin lo mita, that you should provide a bed, umapats, and a mat, uklei umnasai, and vessels for them to do their job, umaz and yud beis chodesh, and food for 12 months. The gomer micha me'erchin, that we learn out from the din of erchin. Ikaman di oimer ein mesadrin. So there's a question for someone who's a Baal Chayiv, whether or not you have to make sure that they have at least these things. So we can see from here the Ein Mesadl Baal Chayiv, that we basically don't give any of these things. So Rav Nachman and Rav Yitzchak Leimer, as we continue to Samach Vavam and Aleph, Shein Mikarin Shtar Ksuba. Now, what exactly does that mean? So on this we turn to Tosfos. So Tosfos says as follows. Loimer she'ein mikarin ksuba umifter dil oilam yischayiba. Really, he's obligated to pay the rest of the ksuba off. So a person must pay the rest of the ksuba off when you have more money later on. Mash'ein kain, when it comes to erechin, you want you want later to pay more. But by the ksuba, you'll have to pay when you get rich. So we won't rip up the ksuba, as it may be used to collect the rest later on. So, af im ein loy, Bilti saroisho, even if all you have is the hair on your head. But nafkamina the im yashir, if you become rich, yafarenu. Cool, then you'll have to pay off the rest. The masadrin, really we do prepare when it comes to the Baal Chayiv, we give. The time the masadrin legamri micha me'erchin, with erchin tanan nosen sell of hishir in a nice little klum. That when it comes to erchin, the din is that if you become rich later on, then it doesn't apply. But when it comes to Iksuba, the din is, it's not exactly like Erchin, that you still have to pay the amount when a person becomes rich. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's see a couple of questions. Question 6. I'm not going to marry this woman who's ugly. So he says, because it was not made in the neder with a tanai. It wasn't done on condition that she becomes beautiful. It was just blanket. She's ugly. When it comes to Adam Ra, it was asui lasos tshuva. It's possible this person can do tshuva. Or Deloy Amr Kashi Ka'ir Kamushi Amr Shavi Ra Mashman and Mikol Makam Asura. Okay, so there's two answers. Either the language, you're right. If the language was the same, it would be the din. But when it comes to the father, the Avia Ra, so in that situation, it was clear it's only as long as the father was Ra. However, if he didn't, when it came to her, it was just ugly, and therefore it wasn't totally on if she became beautiful. And therefore, she would still be usher, or it still wouldn't work. Or it's because when it comes to doing tshuva, that's something which can happen. When it comes to a woman who's ugly, that's just unfortunately that's her reality of life. Fine. Okay. Let's see if there's another question here. Atta.